Hi guys, I'm Katie Tam. I'm a health coach at Logansport Memorial Hospital, and today I will be talking to you about exercising at home. We're going to talk a little bit more about, what exercise is, the reasons why, or some benefits to exercising, and the advantages of working out at home, and then we're going to talk more about the different types of exercises and why each of them is important and why there's recommendations around all of them. And then we'll go over some different workouts at the end. So, exercise is defined by bodily or mental exertion, especially for the sake of training and the improvement of health, or just activity requiring physical effort carried out, especially to sustain or improve health and fitness. We always like this little graphic here. Some people use exercise as a great way to reduce stress, while others maybe are a little more stressed out when they are exercising. But we're going to talk more about the benefits later on of exercise. This slide, what I wanted to point out is that there's healthy people 2030. There's always goals that are released from Indiana about what they would like to see citizens do, and one of their things is getting adults to meet the minimum guidelines for aerobic physical activity, so cardio, in other words, or muscle strengthening activity. That's usually always a goal. And as you can see, about 80% people don't meet those standards, and that hasn't really changed much. They update these statistics every so often, and the last time we did this presentation, it was about 82% possibly. So you can see that it's not really improving much. It's pretty much staying around. Majority of people or adults not meeting those standards. And we'll go over the standards later, but and then you'll see there about almost 50% are definitely not getting enough activity to achieve any health benefit. And again, that goes hand in hand with what the standard is. So again, we'll go over that later, but Indiana tends to be at the bottom of the rankings when it comes to like physical activity, obesity, and there's other things in there like smoking and eating out and stuff. And Indiana is usually not ever ranked that well, so I guess most of us probably aren't surprised with that. So that's why it's always a goal. So the culprit and the cure. Our lifestyle and inactivity tends to be the culprit behind it. I'm sure you hear all the time, especially with our coaching and stuff, how lifestyle can be a huge help with changing our health and behaviors. So, that's why we always recommend it, because it can truly help with a lot of maybe diseases or problems that we're having health wise. And again, this is just kind of nailing that point home. The way we choose to live our lives accounts for about 90% of illness in America. So, again, physical inactivity and low fitness is perhaps the most important predictor of morbidity and mortality that we know of. Low fitness accounts for more sickness and deaths in the population than anything else that we've studied. So that's a huge thing. Another main reason why we really, really want to, encourage moving and exercise. And with this, exercise is something that if we could develop like a pill or a vaccine of exercise, with all this benefits, it would make millions. So, that's something that would always be prescribed by a doctor if we could put it in a pill format or a vaccine format. It's definitely the vaccine needed to prevent chronic disease. So let's go over some additional benefits here with exercise. And a lot of them you're going to see surround like heart risk, diabetes risk, blood pressure risk. And with kind of starting here with heart disease, that is, one of the main killers of men and women and adults. So when we are exercising or doing cardio, it does lower our triglycerides and lowers our LDL. It makes our heart stronger, it makes it work more efficiently, and it can increase our HDL. And our HDL is our good cholesterol, so we want that number to be higher. And it acts as a maintenance crew for our arteries, kind of helps scrub them out. So the higher that number is, typically, obviously there's a threshold there, but when that number is in a good and optimal range, that's better for you. So the next one improves blood pressure. So it can actually lower your blood pressure, and that goes down there to the bottom. It says, did you know a single session of moderate to vigorous physical activity can actually reduce your blood pressure? So that's a huge thing. If our blood pressure is too high, we know how it can increase the likelihood of like a stroke. It can really make our heart work too hard. So we want that blood pressure to be lower. So it can improve our blood sugar levels. What happens is it actually improves our body's ability, our body's cells to use insulin more efficiently. So this is kind of a no-brainer when we're burning calories and exercising. It helps us maintain that body weight a little bit easier. So it enhances mental well-being. Exercise, I'm sure you've heard this before, releases the feel-good endorphins and other brain chemicals. So it can actually also help us prevent dementia as well. So we definitely want to exercise as far as mental well-being goes. So if you're feeling stressed out, obviously it's not like you know, if you need more like something like medication, obviously. But if you're feeling stressed out, anxious, worried, this is definitely something that would benefit you by doing some exercise. So, if we're doing especially like strength or weight bearing exercises, they can make our bone or increase our bone strength essentially. So, definitely can help reduce the risk of osteoporosis. Sorry. Um, Then it can help reduce the risk of hormones that are associated with cancer development and progression. So some some different research here. If you are active, you actually have a 24% lower risk of colon cancer, a 12% risk of decreased risk of breast cancer, and a 20% decreased risk of endometrial cancer. Um, so a lot of different other ones that can be reduced as well, like liver, kidney, stomach, prostate, gallbladder. So it can definitely help with um, lowering the levels of those hormones that are associated with cancer. Improved sleep. So this, sometimes people feel like if they exercise later at night, they don't sleep very well. However, if you're exercising maybe throughout the day or earlier, a few hours before bed, it can definitely help you sleep a little bit better and get more quality sleep, longer sleep, stuff like that. Increase energy levels, same thing here. Those two things go hand in hand. When you're sleeping better, you tend to be a little more energized. And then reduce the arthritis symptoms. So when we exercise, we have increased strength and flexibility, which then in turn reduces joint pain, and that actually helps combat fatigue. So lack of exercise actually makes your joints feel even more painful and stiff. So definitely a lot of good benefits here. There's certainly more, but if you're looking at this list and you're feeling like you can relate to some of these things, then obviously exercise would be a benefit to you. So the number one reason people give for not exercising, and I hear this constantly in coaching, is no surprise, time. It's a huge. People are busy. People have a lot of different priorities going on, so it's probably not surprising to hear. So, what are some benefits to exercising at home? You have the freedom to exercise whenever you want. You can do it in the morning, you can do it at night. You don't have to be on like a gym schedule where maybe they're only open at certain times or they have classes at certain times. So, you can do it whenever you want. You save time because there's no commute for you. You're literally going home, the place that you're going to be going anyway. You don't need to pack a bag or a shower bag or refresh after, and you don't need to stop in the locker room. So you're not spending 15, 20 minutes trying to get ready for work or shower before you get in your car after work. And privacy. This is a huge one with some people. They don't really want to go into a gym where a lot of people are because they're self-conscious. So, this is definitely something if you are worried about going into a gym, you can just stay home and not have to worry about anyone looking at you. Cleaner environment. So there's a few different things here. I'll pull them up for us so we can see them. So you're probably already aware of this, but it's sometimes when you see it in writing, it's like, ooh, yeah. um, Most gym equipment is not cleaned well, so that's why if you are going to the gym, make sure you are cleaning out that equipment. But you can kind of see there, free weights have 362 more germs than a toilet seat. That's kind of alarming. And the germs at home are your own, so maybe not as big of a deal, but still should clean your equipment. I'm going to plug that in there. Another advantage is saving money. Most gym memberships are $58 per month, so I haven't looked this one up in a while, but that could be under what it is now. I'm sure they increase every so often. But about $39 of that goes to waste because we're not going to the gym. This is a huge one. 67% of gym users don't even go. That's a massive amount of people. That's over half of gym, people with gym memberships. And if you do go, you're not going very often. You're going maybe if you're lucky 1 time a month. And then the fitness industry game, and what I mean by that is uh, they like let's take Planet Fitness for example. They have 6,500 members, but the gym can only hold 300 members at once. And that's kind of do the math there, but they're also, most gyms have, coffee shops, restaurants, maybe they even have stuff in the back, tanning, a smoothie place, and they make it really hard for you to quit your membership. So if those perks are not really a big deal to you, then you're going to save your money by not going into those places. Never having to wait for equipment, and then you can progress at your own pace. So you don't have to, you can just, again, there's a lot of flexibility with just working out at home versus at the gym. I know my husband always comes home a lot and talks a little bit about waiting for equipment and just people sitting there on their phone, not necessarily being aware of other people needing the equipment. So um, I know he will sometimes appreciate the gym equipment we have at home because he can just do whatever he wants. So at home, obviously we can't really like do these things together with this being virtual, but at home, stretching is always important. So typically you start a workout with dynamic stretches that get your body warm, get your body going. So that could be like high knees, butt kicks, inchworms, light jogging, like karaoke or grapevine, things like that that are going to get you moving a little bit. And then at the end is when you start doing that static stretching. So, the stuff that with our legs and crossing our arm over our body, that stuff comes at the end, most likely when you're trying to cool down and your muscles are already warm, so they'll stretch a little bit better. So let's start with talking more about, let me put all this up here for us so we can at least see it. Talking more about cardio. So this is going to go hand in hand with heart health benefits. So I mentioned this earlier. It can help reduce blood pressure. It makes our heart work a little more efficiently. It can decrease cholesterol, specifically like triglycerides in your LDL, and it can even increase your HDL. So those are great benefits that we want for our heart to be working properly. How much cardio do we need? For adults, it's about 150 minutes per week of moderate activity. That's a little subjective, so you have to kind of gauge what's moderate and what's vigorous. So a little less if you're doing vigorous activity, and that equals out to, for the moderate stuff, about 30 minutes, 5 days a week. And you can break that up into, it doesn't have to be 30 minutes all at once. It could be 10 minutes throughout the day. Whatever you can do to get your activity in. And for kids, if you're a family, 60 minutes per day is what's recommended. So that's a little bit more than what an adult would need. Um, and then target heart rate and cardio exercise. So this is something you've probably heard in the past as far as cardio goes, but um, the thing with heart rate is if your heart rate is too high, then your heart is beating way more. It's not working as efficiently, and it's gonna, that's not a scenario that we want to see. So we want to lower that. So exercise helps with lowering that heart rate, resting heart rate. So, for example, let's kind of put this into perspective. Say we take um, someone that has a 50 resting heart rate, 50 beats per minute, versus an 80 beats per minute. Um, we're looking closer at like, you know, about a 15 million difference there on their beats per minute. So over time, if your heart is constantly beating at an 80 beats per minute resting heart rate, that is a massive amount of beats per minute more than the 50 beats per minute. So that's why it is important to kind of do that cardio with your heart healthy benefits and being aware of where our resting heart rate might be. So how do you calculate your target heart rate? So what you're going to do is um, take your resting pulse, then you do 220 minus your age. That's the letter A. Your resting pulse will be B, and then it's A minus B equals C. You take that C number and multiply it by 0.5, which is going to represent 50%, which is going to be on the lower end of your target heart rate range. And you add that to your resting pulse. And then you do 0.85 times C, which is on the upper range of your target heart rate. Add that to B, and then you get E, and then D to E is your target heart rate range. So if you're exercising and your heart rate, if you're monitoring your heart rate and it's lower than that D number, then you're not really getting a whole lot of benefit to your heart, but you are still getting some calorie burn. If it's too high, so it's higher than that E number, then you're going to burn muscle instead of fat, increase your risk of injury, and it's just your heart is not really conditioned for that yet. So that's why it's important to exercise within that target heart rate. And if you need help with kind of figuring that out, don't hesitate to reach out to me. So doing stuff at home, anything that's going to get your body moving, get your heart rate up, trying to not take long breaks because we want to keep that heart rate up. Obviously, we want to take, if you need a break, take a break. But Try to just build recovery exercises into the workout, so something where it's maybe not as strenuous, it's going to let that come down. And really anything that you enjoy, so walking, tennis, dancing, jump rope, heavy gardening, hiking, it's got to be something that you enjoy doing, otherwise you're just not going to do it at all. And always make sure to keep water next to you while you're exercising. But you can kind of structure this. You could do multiple different things in one workout. Mix and match. Maybe you're going to jump rope and run, or you could do dancing for the whole 30 minutes that you're supposed to be doing it, or go back and forth between walking and running. Again, it's really whatever you would like to do that's going to get your heart rate up. So strength training, um, the recommendations for this one are major muscle groups 2 times a week. So, when I say major muscle groups, I'm thinking, your legs, so quads and hamstrings, glutes, shoulders, chest, back, core. So you need to do those things 2 times a week. And that could look like, full body training 2 times a week, or you could break it up into like upper body, on Monday, Wednesday, and lower body on Tuesday, Thursday, and give yourself a couple rest days, or do core on Friday. So you can break that up however you want to, just as long as you're getting those major muscle groups 2 times a week. Try not to work the same muscles back to back days, because you got to give them a break. You got to give them some time to break down and then rebuild. So if you're constantly putting your muscles under stress, it's not going to help you. It's just going to hurt you in the long run. Um, Form is more important than how much you lift. So just making sure that you're doing things properly, because if you're lifting too heavy and your form is not good, you could risk getting injured with that. Um, Making sure that you're getting some post-workout meals and having protein included with that, because again, that's going to help you build your muscles back up. And then any type of, body, maybe you're starting out, so body weight is not a place to start. Dumbbells, resistance bands, maybe you have like a full gym in your house, but really anything that's going to give you a little bit of weight bearing stuff. And like I said, sometimes that can include just being body weight. So I mentioned the different major muscle groups here, and these are just some ideas of exercises. So like quads, the exercises that are going to work those out are squats, lunges, maybe some standing jumps or broad jumps, step ups, hamstrings and glutes. So that's going to be the back of your legs really. And that could be glute bridges, maybe deadlifts, Romanian deadlift, good mornings, hip thrust. Then we got our shoulders, so stuff like overhead press or pike push-ups, chest, think bench press, push-ups, dips, and then back you can do rows, any type of rows. There's a ton of different variations of those. Chin-ups, pull-ups, those things are all great for your back. And then core, crunches are okay, but anything that you can do to kind of do like maybe planks or mountain climbers that you have to kind of brace yourself a little bit more is going to be good for your core. And then mobility and flexibility. So I was talking about these earlier. Um, if you can do this stuff every day, that's great. But if you can only do it 2 to 3 times per week, that's awesome. That's great. That's going to give you some benefit too. And this is the stuff I was talking about doing at the end of your workout. So it's an easy one to just combine with whenever you might be doing cardio or lifting. It's going to help with preventing injury, and increasing your range of motion essentially. So you might find in the beginning you're really tight and you're having a hard time maybe doing a lunge or a squat or lifting your arms over your head. When you add mobility and flexibility into your program, then you'll start to see that you'll be able to move a little bit efficiently. So putting together a workout, this, there's a lot of things you got to figure out before you actually just start working out. Not saying you can't just start and kind of work your way around there, but it is good to know how often you can work out or want to work out. So it's going to require you taking a look at your schedule and figuring out what's realistic. So frequency just stands for, how often are you going to work out? Do you only have time to work out 3 times a week? Are you super busy? Or do you live alone, single, no kids, and have time in the evening to work out every single night? It's really up to you to figure out what's going to work best, but the key here is, again, not spreading yourself so thin that it's going to be unrealistic for you to get this done. So be honest and be realistic about how often you really want to work out. And then your length is going to really depend on how often you can work out. Like I said, someone that doesn't really have any obligations outside of work can probably work out for, 30, at least 60 minutes a night, and easily get that 150 minutes for the week and then lifting 2 times a week. But if you can only work out three, maybe even 2 times a week, you might have to combine your cardio and strength training in one thing, whether it's a circuit training, whether it's doing some running after your workout, after your full body strength workout. You're going to have to get kind of creative with your stuff and just make the most of your time. Some people only do it on lunch break, so then they only have 45 minutes. So they have to get creative with what they're doing. But those two pretty much go hand in hand. And then, lastly, there, decide on what exercises and like rep scheme you would like to do. With cardio, you can pretty much do whatever you would like. It's pretty easy to put a time on that. I'm going to do this for X amount of minutes, and you can watch your heart rate. But when it comes to strength training, you have to probably plan a little ahead as far as what exercises you plan to do that day. You may know that you're going to do upper body, but you can even take it a step further with, okay, I'm going to do shoulders and back today, or I'm going to work out, all my upper body with my chest, back, and shoulders. And then with reps, generally speaking, if you're in the 8 to 12 range rep, that's pretty good. That's what general population would do well with. If you want to know more specific things, feel free to reach out to me, and we can get into that a little bit more. But generally speaking, 6 to 12 reps, it should be kind of hard on your last rep when you're lifting and stuff. So just keeping those things in mind when you are trying to put together a workout. So once you get the answer to those questions, it makes it pretty easy to kind of move forward, and you can, start recording and maybe even evaluating your program if you really want to take it that far. Maybe you're just in it to make sure you're moving every day, and that's no big deal. Some people really like to have that accountability of recording what they're doing so they can see their gains per se, or just see the progress they've made, and that can be motivating. That can be really motivating for some people. But you also want to make sure that what you're doing is making sense and working for you. If you feel like you are just doing something in it and you realize that it stops giving you benefits, then maybe it's time to switch it up. So that's also the benefit of evaluating and recording, because then you know when it's time to change things up. And then lastly, be flexible. Life happens, and you may have an idea of where you want to be and what you need to be doing, but um, sometimes you just have to take a step back and again make it fit your schedule and be flexible, because some things come up. You may have to change a certain day that you do stuff. So giving yourself a little bit of grace in this. So I wanted to include some sample workouts here, and sample workout number one is a little more strength training based, but you can see there that we talked about when we put together a workout, there is a warm up and a cool down. So we have some dynamic stretches in the beginning and some static stretches at the end to cool down. And then we hit major muscle groups there. So this one is more of a full body workout. Um, and then they stayed in the 6 to 12 range, rep range there. They added a cardio element. Um, and then they did a core element too, and then another cardio element. And this is, I should have said in the beginning, sorry, that this is the 20-minute workout, and they repeat this circuit as many times as possible in those 20 minutes. So because it's structured this way, I'm assuming this person is only working out a few days a week because they're trying to fit a lot of different things in there. So you could potentially do something like this multiple times a week so you didn't feel like you have to work out every single day. And you could do it without equipment. If you are not ready to introduce any type of barbells or dumbbells or resistance bands, then you could just do lunges, and you could even, this sounds silly, but you could hold, like cans of vegetables, whatever's in your house that's going to give you a little bit of weight, but not so much that you can't do it. You know, these things can all be modified to fit your current level of ability at the moment. And then sample workout number 2. So same thing, there's a warm up and the cool down. It's going to include major muscle groups, and this one is definitely more cardio based. However, some of this stuff could be weight bearing because it's using your body weight. So the squat jumps are explosive. You have push-ups, you have burpees, you have core, you have squats. If you're a little more advanced, you could probably find a way to add some resistance to this. But again, if this is something new to you, then this would probably be enough weight bearing for you. And same thing here, you would do a 20-minute workout. However, you just repeat the circuit twice in 20 minutes. So you may get it done quicker than 20 minutes. So if you're advanced, if you get it done quicker than 20 minutes, then you need to be moving through it pretty quickly and efficiently to get your heart rate up. So not a bad workout, and again, you can structure your workout however you want. And another thing with exercise that I'm just going to quickly hit on here is goal setting. So this kind of goes hand in hand with the record and evaluate. It's really a lot easier to stay focused and to get started when you have a goal. And when I say that, I'm meaning something that's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So SMART is a SMART goal. There's a difference between saying I'm going to start walking versus I'm going to start walking this Friday and I will walk 4 times a week, 30 minutes each time. I will do this for 6 weeks. You can see the difference there. So when you have something as specific as that, and you can measure it, and you feel like it's achievable and realistic, and it has a time element to it, you're probably going to be a little more focused and motivated to do it. Same thing with other, and this could be applied to anything in your life if you're wanting to work on other stuff outside of exercise. But um, you know, you're just going to be more successful if you're thinking about setting goals, maybe even scheduling your exercise time. I know that sounds crazy, but I've had people get like a planner or calendar and just look at their week and look at how busy they are and write it down into where their schedule is maybe a little less busy. Getting an accountability partner to keep you motivated. Um, so however you can get your exercise in with some goal setting. And then just revisiting, today we discussed exercise, what it is, some main reasons to exercise, the benefits of it, and the advantages of working out at home versus going to the gym. We went over the different types of exercise and why each is important and how to get them in, and then we put together some workouts as well. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call me. My number is there, or email me at ktam@logansportmemorial.org. Thank you for listening.